All right, we're back. Good evening, everybody. Welcome back to another episode of Talk the Ting with yours truly, Dwayne and Hadley. Hadley, why is the word?
Good evening. Good. Busy day, but I'm here. How about you?
Well, the day wasn't too bad, to be honest. Just a lot of stuff going on at work and stuff, so you're just trying to just keep things ticking, dot the I's, cross the T's, how it goes.
Yeah, yeah,
But
yeah.
yeah, man. Before we get started and before we get into the heart of the interview, sorry we started a little late, just some little technical difficulties there, if all you only knew. But we have with us special guests. We're gonna bring him on in a little bit. We're gonna have a nice conversation. But please, everybody, share the live, share the live, share the live. Follow us on Instagram. We have our page on TikTok. We have YouTube. When you go to your YouTube, please just like the videos, comment, subscribe. We're trying to build a channel and trying to get more and more guests and more people to come on to give you guys some good content. So with that said, with no further ado, let's bring on our guest for the evening, Mr. Ridge. Cross the bridge. What's the word?
Yeah. We're
Yeah,
about
brother,
to cross that bridge tonight.
Getting blessed up.
Yeah, man. Everything nice. How are things with you?
Everything good, brother. I can't complain. Just getting ready to head out to Canada tomorrow and then on to Boston.
Oh,
Oh,
nice, nice,
so we,
nice.
so we, so we got you at a very good time.
Yeah, man. Yeah,
Yeah, we
man. Yeah.
were.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, boy. Big good time, good time. So, Rich boy, thanks for joining us, man. We've been doing the show for a few years now. We had a little hiatus, we stopped and thing, but now we're back and we're trying to keep the content going. So we just wanted the people to get to know you a little bit better. So
Yeah,
with
man.
that said, give us a little bit of a background, man. Let's go back. Let's go back, like way back.
Yeah.
Where in Dominica is Rich from? Where
Well,
did Rich grow up? Where did Rich go to school? Them kind of thing there. Because I don't even know them thing.
Okay, originally I'm a man from Newtown, from the ghetto, Newtown. So I spent half of my life in Newtown and then the other half in Shrewdell. I went to St. Mary's Primary, then on to SMA, then on to Dominica State College. My dad was involved in politics early on, Thomas Bell. My mom is a teacher, Sheba Bell. And I started the musical journey with Miss Later in Virgin Lane. Started playing classical music, so I
Oh,
started learning theory and stuff like that. And then from there, I started going into the cultural music like Jinping, bouyon, and reggae and stuff like that.
so let's stay there for a little bit. You said Jinping, the cultural
Mhm.
aspect of Dominican music. Can you touch on that a little bit more?
Well, yeah, because what
Because
happened is now,
it's not something that we hear too often.
what happened in where I from, I really currently live Jodel. Like Jodel had like the Belgian King Bang for like how much is like 10 years going straight. So I
Mm.
see the guys practicing and I had an early experience on how they playing the timbal and the accordion and stuff like that. So so that was deeply rooted in my upbringing coming up in the music vibes.
okay, okay,
Okay.
okay.
That's interesting though.
Yeah, man.
So what pulled you ultimately towards bouyon? Will you say? I mean, you played a few different genres. You call it. So what pulled you to bouyon ultimately?
Well, bouyon is the music that most resonates with Dominicans, It's carnival time is bouyon all year long here in bouyon. Whereas stuff like Calypso is seasonal and the Jinping only during independence time. But bouyon was an all year round thing. And at the time I came up at a unique time because at the time it still had Serenade and CK going back to each other. Then I saw Triple K from the start to now. So most of the guys right now in the modern age, they more know about the reading part of the music, but I was fortunate to compare them with a lot of musical part, brass, different part, chord progressions. So that's why a lot of times when you hear a production from Ridge compared to somebody else, he is really more musical as compared to other producers.
Okay. Yeah. So So before we got to know Mr. Ridge, um, you were part of a band, were you not?
Yeah, man, a lot of
Yeah,
band.
can you tell us about the whole band life before you became the artist?
Well, before the band, the first band I had was a band in Jodel. It was me and Colin XP. She wasn't Colin XP, it was just Colin. And we had, we had a band, started in Jodel, me on the keyboard, she's singing. Then I moved to a band in Egliston. We used to call it Dark Side. But when I really started getting more out there in the music was with a band called Cross Vibes.
Mm,
But for Cross Vibes for a while. And then from Cross Vibes, I left to form a band called Excess Groove up in Mont Prosper. And then from Excess Groove, that's when I had my first son. I was around 18, 19. And Dominica, the industry at the time couldn't really sustain a full time musician.
Mhm.
So I got the opportunity to go play on Carnival Cruise Lines. So I
okay.
took contracts with Carnival Cruise Lines, and that was when my mind really started to open to the different genres of music and not just bouyon.
Right, because you were out there hearing and seeing more. Yeah.
Yeah.
So you got to travel to quite a few places and stuff and play.
Yeah, man, yeah, man, yeah, man. Because up there you kind of go on a cruise ship and play bouyon alone, So
Yeah.
that gave me a greater understanding of the different genres of music, and was able helped me to able to translate different genres of music into the bouyon. Because like I have some songs I mix with compa, some with R&B, some with salsa, and different stuff like that. So after the cruise ship, I landed back in Saint Martin, and I started playing with Roy from Fusterni, another band called Roy.
Mm,
Were you
nice.
with him?
Yeah, so played with Roy for a while, and then started freelancing with different bands in Saint Martin. And St. Martin's has some big festivals like Heineken, Regatta, and stuff like that. So I would get a chance to play with international artists like Arlene, open for Popcorn, Barry's Hammond, stuff like that. And from there, I really just stayed in St. Martin for a while, doing my thing back and forth, Dominica. But it's really during COVID is when I see the artists came through. Because now when COVID hit, the first hit was entertainment. So I
Mm,
lost all my contracts with the hotels, with the casinos, and only thing I knew to do at that time was music. So I say,
right.
everybody at home, everybody inside, more people online. Maybe now it's time to really just push out my music. So I started producing during COVID time. And that was just the beginning of Cross the Bridge.
Wow. So we went from the cruise ship. We went to Saint Martin. Well, let's stay in back in the day a little bit. So you mentioned Rui, you mentioned Carlin, you saw Triple K, all these bands. Who you would say was your, or who would you say was your influence in your main influence, I guess, in bouyon music?
Well, we had to say main influence because now I used to listen to a lot of WC at the time coming up. Practice, he mimic what Cornell was playing, but the other uncle saying Lapwet, and right across from him was Serenade Barnhouse. I used to be in the Barnhouse watching my guys set practice with Archie and Ranger Man. And me and Ranger Man was cool. So I used to go and check Ranger Man and then with Triple K too, I got a chance to be in the Barnhouse with Triple K as well. Even at that time, I think Kendall was living in the band. I was supposed to be the replacement keyboardist. So I had a fair experience playing and watching different bands and understanding the music behind it, and what was their own style. So that's why even with my music now, you can hear a little bit of serenading sometimes. You might hear a little CK influence, a little Triple K. So I don't kind of say one of them is a main influence. It was a combination of experiences.
Right. So, okay. So with that said, you were heavily influenced by the band life, which is what we have in Dominica. With Dominica, we have a band culture. If you're not in a band, then it's nothing. I think the first bouyon artist to really break that ceiling with the whole bouyon artist thing was Asa.
Yeah,
And for a while, even after he did it, nobody else could. Even some of the big guys, I remember people talking about Ra trying to go solo and Nai trying to go solo, and it never really materialized for whatever reason. But you decided to give it a shot, and it actually worked. And why do you think it worked? I mean, yes, you're talented and whatnot, but what did you do different, or what did you have to do or add in to make that work reach the artist?
What we reach artist work, it was really and truly was having a good team and having a platform, because I realized that all the musicians in the past never had a platform. Like if you want to be an artist, who do you go to? Which studio you go to? Who you can go to as a label?
Mm.
So my
Mm.
first big push I got was having Mossy as a platform at Belot. Big up Arturo one time. So he told me, not we can use the platform to push music, and he gave me permission to do what I want with the platform. So I
And when you
started.
say and when you say platform,
Mhm.
what exactly you mean by platform?
Well, apart from,
Like,
remember, he
is it
had.
YouTube?
Well, no, no, not really. Not just YouTube, the social media, the Facebook page. Also, most had, at that time they used to sell DVDs a lot. So I got
Mhm.
Okay.
my music on the DVDs as well and stuff like that. Yeah, and there's the whole marketing aspect. So yeah, we started with that. I started making some little keyboard videos. No singing, just me playing keyboard,
Yeah.
and I saw that got some traction. So it was in 2018 when Mary and Irma hit Saint Martin and Dominica. Both Dominica and Saint Martin got hit. So I was forced to go to Guadeloupe with my son. And at the time, I only knew music. So I started playing keyboard and doing like a chant. And in 2018, I really released my first song. And it was a hit in the French culture. We have to keep it PG-14. I can just talk plainly, explicit.
You can talk plainly, but maybe PG-16.
Okay, PG-16. That song. It says,
Yeah.
"Oh, me tonight." That song there.
Yeah,
That was
Okay, okay,
yeah,
okay.
And that song
yeah,
was the song that really catapulted me into the whole artist life. Because at first I don't take it serious. I say, they play my keyboard, sing my like a chant. But then every weekend, I was getting calls for a gig in Guadeloupe, a gig in
mm,
Guadeloupe. And if you wanted more and more, so I released the next song, Don't Call My Phone. And I realized the French culture really liked the keyboard aspect and the chant aspect, because nobody really
mm,
did that before. It was more like a artist, but
mm.
my keyboard was a signature part of my
Of
performance.
your,
And I
yeah,
think that really worked for me. And from there, I just really keep on pushing, giving the people what they want. Because I never intended to be an artist. I never considered
yeah,
myself a singer or nothing. I was saying I'm a keyboard player. But what
yeah,
happened is, in the past is working so much different artists like Nai and other artists pushing in their music, and the vision I had for the music, like no one really saw my vision. So I say, you know what? Let me just do my own thing and to show fellas like, hey, if you do it like that, it can work with our understanding
yeah,
of the music.
man. That's so interesting. But one thing I'm picking up, because I mean, everybody know had Leo as a band man, music man, and thing. And one thing I'm picking up from what you're saying is I'm hearing a lot of exposure at a young age, right? To band, to seeing a band practice, to spend time around a band, to having all these music people around you. And like you say, it kind of led you to a path that you didn't even think you were gonna go to,
Yeah.
right? But because of the exposure you had. So that's good. So talk a little bit on that. I mean, now you as an artist now, in terms of the level of exposure, and I guess the difference between what it was, I would say in the mid between 2015 and 2018 to like now for an artist maybe trying to come out.
Well, what the exposure is one thing, but what the main thing that really helped the career was understanding the music business, and I realized that a
Mm.
lot of the guys in Dominica, even the old heads, no disrespect to them, they don't understand the business, because I see the music was not copyright, they're not publishing, they're not on the streaming platforms. So I also learned from what they did, but I also learned from the mistakes that they made too, and what I didn't want to happen to me. So from the get go, I would have all my songs copyright, publish, read about it, talk to guys, talk to Mark Murray, and all the guys had the knowledge. And that really helped me during the COVID time, because during the COVID, I all my money is coming from like social media, TikTok, Instagram, YouTube, my royalties. That would
The
make me survive.
royalties.
And at first, I used to check like, it's hard for a man in Dominica to survive off
Hmm.
online revenue from music. But when I saw I could actually, survive from that, I said, well, I can push my all into it.
Hmm.
Because the biggest thing for any musician would know, and that hardly can tell you, is surviving from music alone. Because sometimes you want to do your music, but you have a day job, a 9 to 5. After the job, you're tired. You have to be creative. But if you can really put your all into music and your energy into music and survive from it, then that's the greatest feeling ever.
Yeah.
Hmm.
So so you talk about the business aspect, and that's something that me personally got a lot of flack for. Telling fellas, yo, like that whole YouTube only thing, not really making sense. Like, what about the legacy? What about leaving music for your kids to survive on later on? And while what your style of music was slightly different, one thing that I always said that I respect from you was the fact that even if you seemed a bit different, you brought the business aspect to it and you were very serious about it. Down to sending cease and desist letter for people illegally using your material.
Yeah,
You
man.
know, and that was apart from one time Mikel Anderson had some copyright issues with a prominent business in Dominica. We've never heard of artists literally going after people for the illegal use of the material. So was that something that you researched? Was it something that you got advice from somebody on that?
Well, it was my research, and I would like to say big up to Arturo because through he having more SEO and having original content, and he went for a legal battle with LJ because LJ was trying to recreate more SEO, call it SEO more SEO. So I learned a lot from him, in terms of copywriting and trademarking my image and my music. And it was something I just know that had to be done, Dominica, because in the beginning it was a big fight down. Everybody like, who rich really be? You just come
Mm.
down. My brother, man doesn't know that before. But somebody have to take all the blows for it to set a standard.
Right,
And
Yeah,
if
right.
I
yeah,
can
yeah,
do
yeah.
it now, those after me will benefit from it. So
Yeah,
that
'cause
that
that was gonna be one of my next questions, right? Because you talk a lot about what you did to kind of make things as professional as possible. That's what I'm hearing. But in terms of other challenges, you just mentioned it towards the end of what you were saying. The other artists in Dominica, the established artists, how was that battle? Like, how did they accept you coming in as somebody like, for example, you just said it right that you didn't really see yourself as an artist. You thinking like you're a keyboardist, right?
yeah.
And man that been trying out there, been trying to do it, and they checking boy where Rich come out. So how was that
Right.
type of challenge? How did you deal with that?
Well, to be honest, I've been fortunate. I never really had any instances with artists. I won't say I didn't get support in the beginning. I didn't really get the support. Like most man are just watching quietly to see what Rich doing. And I'm a person I always give respect where respect due. And if I show a man respect, you show me respect back. Then okay. So
Mhm.
if they had something to say, they will never say it to me in my face. So maybe they said it behind my back. I never know. But Kendall has been very supportive of me. I don't have no problem with Triple K, no problem with Signal Band or WCK. Like and I always open, willing to share the knowledge. And I think when you have like a pure heart and pure intention, it's like man cannot really do nothing because not to say I need nobody to record, I need nobody to produce, as in everything myself. So how you going to hold me down? You cannot
Yeah.
hold me down. And
Right.
then Silver starts pushing out other artists. That's something no band never really did before. Because it was only sometimes only Triple K, Issa, and CK after a while. And then when
Mhm.
that Rage, you come with you had Puda, Suki, Kenny G, Jolly, Guada G, Taffy, like a whole list of man was on the platform pushing as well. And the thing about it is when I did it, I was so passionate about it. I really charge nobody nothing. You can ask all them man, I never charge them $1 to record or mix. I just kind of pushing this in, I pushing bouyon. Because now I realize now from the start that if bouyon had to go somewhere, I needed more artists on board. Like when you think of reggae, you think of Bob Marley. But Bob Marley was the only one that pushed reggae out there. That Peter, Tosh, Gregory, Isaac, Barry, Salmon, all these guys played a part in pushing reggae. So when man say I can do it
Mhm.
myself, it don't making sense, especially bouyon being a new genre. You need the other artists on board to help push it out there. And I think that the more artists that came into the bouyon, it was better for the genre.
Yeah. So let's stay on that. This Trinidad and soca artist Voice has a song called in it basically saying that there's room for all of us.
Hmm.
And I think that's a problem that we've had in Dominica and the music thing, which is like it's only a certain amount of us for a certain period of time until we fed up or until we stop getting calls or anything like that. And you could have gone into it with that mindset as well.
Yeah.
You pull up, you work hard, you learn, and now for you to just come and just bring other people, but you didn't have that mindset. Down to and the different thing with you is that you brought on people that were generally not even seen in that
Yep.
in that light. For example, God rest his soul, Jolly. We knew Jolly from back in the day, nursery crew, Bath Estate, long time. But then musically he fell off. and then you saw the need or the talent in him to bring him back. And then, for Suki,
Hmm.
all those guys.
Hmm.
So why? Because somebody would say, boy, Mr. Bringing all them fellas there, them man gonna take his shine or whatnot. And I'm asking why, but I also wanted to say as well, how did you maintain Ridge with bringing in all those guys working with you at the same time?
Well, I think I answered the question part of the why, because boy, you need more artists to really
Right.
make it go outside there. But the next reason was I know it's like to be a young artist upcoming and or a young musician, you have no help because I go for it. Man don't to borrow your keyboard, you ask man for
Hmm.
studio time, you don't give studio time, feel like
Right.
charging ridiculous amount of money for a little thing and So I know it was like as a upcoming artist and a musician. So I said I don't want people to go for what I went through. So I would try and jumpstart them and try, yo, let's do this, let's do that. Yeah, you can come on that show. I'll give you from my money because in the beginning, when I was bringing other artists, promoter doesn't want to pay nothing extra. It's like, Rich, I paying for you. If you bring them man, you pay them man, that's you. But I saw
Hmm.
the vision and I just have a knack for knowing who have a talent or who can have a song. Like when I brought Suki on, I got so much
Right.
backlash. Bro, he's
I was gonna say Suki was not one that
that
many
song.
people saw.
He
Yep.
gripping. That old song, his father on my case. Let me take out that video on Facebook. Suki in jail. Suki tell me, boy, Rich, I live my free own. This only man give me a question in life. Like, leave it. I like this song. Let's do it. And when it took off, everybody started saying, yes, boy, my child. Oh, my cousin. Oh, I know Suki. Then kind of thing there. So, so it's just having determination and having faith and belief in the vibes. And you asked me why. And what's the next question you asked me again?
How were you able to
Yeah,
still,
how about maintain reach?
work with all these guys and maintain Ridge?
Well, the thing is about it is different artists brought different energy into the camp, and by doing collabs with them as well, because I know if I can make that man boss, and when a fresh artist come on the scene, there's have a kind of hype energy.
Mm-hmm.
And the thing is to maintain that energy after all is be the hardest thing. And making a hit song is one thing, but to maintain, a lot of guys who understand the maintaining part. So I see if I could like bring them on my platform, I think even if I wasn't singing on the song, but it would showcase how good of a producer Ridge is, because not a lot of artists can make song for themselves, but to make song for different artists and for each of them to be a hit and for each of them to boss and start to travel, is a fit by itself. So and it just showcase Ridge the artist, but because I like playing keyboard so much and producing, I also want to showcase me being a producer behind the scenes as well.
Right.
Because honestly, I wasn't planning on being in the spotlight for too long. I said when I did my first album, I said, I'd be like a Dr. Dre, produce for different man, and man go out there and gig, and I can just stay back home, relax, spend time with the family, and just produce. But yeah, that the fans wasn't having that. They always wanted more and more coverage. And then I started to really analyze the streams and who was the most streamed by your artist. And it's not nothing but tooth in my own horn, but I realized that most people streaming Rich. If you can check it out now on Spotify, I have the most Spotify followers in Dominica. I think I have like 75,000. Pullers have like 45,000. Issa have like 30,000. Triple K have 25, and I think Signal have 20. So I was following the analytics, and music is a business as well. So I see
Uh-huh.
if I come out in it now, that's a big drop I can afford.
Mhm.
Until the artist is able to top that, what I doing, then I can say, what, I can relax and just produce. But in the meantime, I still have to be in the forefront pushing.
All right, all right. So what is your? I mean, so far, I guess over the last 12 months or so, it looked like bouyon has kind of taken over the Caribbean. I would say.
Yeah, man.
Um, and all the carnivals, everywhere is bouyon, bouyon, bouyon. I mean, I hear people complaining a lot. In Miami Carnival and Grenada Carnival and all these carnivals is pretty much bouyon. So, would you say? And I know you specifically have a big part to play in that, like you were kind of saying, right? Um, what are your thoughts on the nasty business? Let's talk about that a little bit because basically, the feedback from a lot of people in Dominica is, oh, the music too vulgar and blah blah blah. But some people also have the mindset of, if you listen to Jamaican dancehall music, it's very vulgar, right? It's
Yeah.
maybe sometimes worse. But
Mhm.
because they speak it in their patois, we don't really picking it up, or they're using certain slang that we don't
Sounding
know.
nice, man. The accent sounding nice and
Right.
smoothing it out.
Right. So what are your thoughts? I know you maybe have addressed that, but let's talk about that a little bit in terms of how you've seen that evolution in terms of bouyon growing in the Caribbean, and how much do you attribute nasty business to that growth, or that kind of offset of bouyon music?
Well, Nasty Business was a catalyst, and the Nasty Business for me was created by me and Jolly. Nasty Business was part of our marketing plan because now to get people to listen to Bouyo, we had to come with something really different and to really shock with a shock factor, So within
Mm.
Nasty Business, we started the Nasty Business with the vulgar lyrics, and then from there we'd ease into other types of songs because each of the songs I created, there's a nasty version and a clean version, or I say dirty version and a clean version. But for
Mm.
some reason, people always gravitate towards the nasty business, the dirty version. So you can see the
Mhm.
people want that kind of vibe. And I think music have a time and place, just like I have time for gospel, time for country. The nasty business had a time and place. And I think that really get people listening. Like, what do you guys really say? You say push on in your what? Suck the what? You know? And then people talk about the nasty business, but they never talk about the other part that I bring in because besides nasty business, I was still doing Christmas songs. I was still doing Ping cultural songs. I was still doing gospel songs like Toxic Love. That was the whole. That was the
Oh
first
yeah,
song that really
that's a very
Yeah.
went.
nice song.
That's how the vibes. And then who know the issue like part of the Toxic Love rhythm was in someone else, and then the other little issue first had to give me a percentage of the thing because he used whatever without my permission. And I saw how all what I did and used guys were mimicking it or using parts of it to create their own hits. And I never had a problem with it because it has space for everybody to grow, but just do the business right.
Yeah. 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 Yep.
Yeah. So we're at a point where we have to now ask, like, what is the future of bouyon music? And does it stay where it is? I did notice that what you said about is this nasty business, but I realized this carnival wasn't that much about nasty business. It was, I think, the music gravitated a little bit closer to love.
Yeah.
Love, romance, go poil, that type of thing. And so clearly, right now, bouyon music is still in an evolution phase. So, what do you think is the future of bouyon music? Not only us Dominicans blowing up, but right now everybody else
Mhm.
wants to be on a bouyon rhythm. So what do you think is the future of bouyon music, and how do we still keep it authentic moving forward?
Well, I think the guys, how do you write ideas, start doing international collabs. I mean, Trilla and Shelly had a nice collab with Skinny. Also, I did one with Problem Child, and I've have other collabs coming out as well. And also embracing the French market because that's a huge market for the bouillon, and they love the bouillon more than anybody else, even more than Dominicans sometimes.
Yeah,
The bouillon French artists doing really well. Some even doing more numbers than me, and they based in Guadeloupe, and I understand why because they have the population Guadeloupe,
population. Yeah,
Nick, France. So I think it's just to embrace the collabs. We kind of want to hold it to our own. Like, if you realize, like, some of the best reggae artists, not even coming from Jamaica no more. The music had to go out there and go into the world. And different versions of the bouyon, makes the bouyon feel like Afro, makes the bouyon whatever. And I think once you have a Dominican producer or somebody that understands bouyon music, you can keep the authenticity of the bouyon and still while making it commercial and mainstream.
all right.
Mm. So what is your opinion of the role of lyrics in bouyon music, and not just nasty business specifically, but what do you think? And I know you said you're primarily a musician, but what is your thoughts on the lyrics? Is that something that we should be paying more attention to, right? As musicians, artists, producers, and how have you seen the public react to reading versus maybe putting in more effort into a lyrical song?
Well, I think a musician or artist should always work on his craft and try and be better. And I think a lot of time some guys need writers. They start using some writers, because some of the biggest hits in the world is 6, 7 writers on one song. And
Yep.
if wrong in getting the help, because even with me too, if you really watch my album over the my album over the years, I've been using different producers, different musicians, different vocalists to do backups for me because you kind of don't want to do everything by yourself. You need a team and you need to embrace the help, you know. So you don't need help. Yes, someone need help, but I do think is a must because each artist to his own, they can do what they want. Is their music. I just think that the other artists, especially like the good, better singers, if they see I need to that we need more in bouyon, they should come back in the bouyon. Do something if you're a gospel singer, come and make a gospel bouyon. You know, you're R&B singer, come and make a R&B bouyon. You know, and I think the more the bouyon start to export and different islands and countries start to adopt it, the better for bouyon.
All right. So I want to touch on something here that I think is very important. And it's something that we've been, I would say, getting away with in the music. Maybe because our artists are not as big as we want them to be yet. But we in Booyah music, we find ourselves sampling a lot of people's work. And when I say sample, for those of you listening, is basically taking the original work of somebody else and just adding it to your project without any form of manipulation or any change or whatnot. Just taking the original work of another artist or a writer or whatever and dropping it into your and then putting it out as yours. And in most cases, we don't give the credit, and we also don't have the permission to use the material, and because of that we cannot stream it, because if we stream it we will lose it. Most times it's just a YouTube video, but that's something that you are very particular about. So what advice do you give the new artists out there who, yes, are influenced by R&B and so on the other genres, but what can you tell them to, hey, yes, you could be influenced by these artists, but it doesn't mean that you have to take their work and bring it into yours. So how do you feel about that?
Well, me for a person, I 100% for originality. I hate sampling and covering other songs, but it have cases where that somebody want to hear that and people want it. So I would just say like get the right license. Like even me, like I have a cover of Sweet Caroline. I had to go for the hoops to get a cover license and pay whatever
Right.
and this and that and make sure my cover license so I could distribute it and stream it. So if you go in the right path and you get the cover license at least, then you're good to go. But a lot of guys they're not doing that. And I think if the boy reach a level where that it really reach mainstream, a lot of guys will be in a lot of trouble because
A lot of
when
trouble, yeah.
this come for you, they can sue you for a lot, you know. And there has been instances, I won't call names, but um where bands have used people's stuff and they got shut down almost immediately.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I've heard of some of those cases.
yeah.
Hmm. So how? I mean, to be honest, I'm gonna ask this question from a selfish standpoint because I hear people talk about music, and from somebody who's not involved in music, me and Hadley have argued about that a lot.
Hmm.
To me, I don't know. In my mind, I don't really see in the industry in Dominica for music. Honestly, I mean, I seen people doing music,
Hmm.
but like you said, you went about it a different way, and even some of the people who were in music for a long time were not necessarily following the best practices, right, in terms of building a music career. So, can you? You don't have to give us figures, but when you say that you see that you could live off streaming, or you could, you could feed your family off that stuff. Just give us an idea of what that means. Because, for example, somebody working a 9 to 5 job in Dominica, let's say maybe making, let's call it 2,000 EC a month,
Yeah.
2,500 EC a month, right? When you say you live off, you're talking about more money than that. You're talking about somewhere around that ballpark. Just give us a little bit of idea. Explain to the people what that means.
Well, I don't what 6 figures.
Mm.
Yeah, man, 6 figures.
So that basically says that if you follow the right way of doing things and you try to put the effort into it, that it can be lucrative. It can be
Yeah,
more
man, yeah, man,
lucrative
yeah,
than
man. Very
working
crazy.
any.
Like I won't talk about my part, but like man, like Asa is a millionaire a long time already.
Mm,
From
Told
just
you,
music, you
told
know.
you.
No way. Talk about East Side. Oh God, I make it so for that. Man, like East Side millionaires already. From your music. So I can tell you it's lucrative. You just have to have the discipline, the consistency, and the right production. And I think that's something a lot of the Dominican artists lack too. Sometimes they have a good production, they have a good mix and master on their music. They're very important. But when your music go out there and you're playing against them other soca artists and other Afrobeats, you want when your song come on, there's have a dip in the bass, so the song is distorted. The production is very important, especially the mixing and mastering of your music.
Right. So let's touch on that a little bit because again, more issues that I've spoken about is you in the club and the soca section just finished ponging and the DJ want to move from the power soca straight into the bouyon. The BPM is around the same thing. So the DJ figure out, you know what? Let me drop the bouyon. And then what you get is you get that volume drop instantly. And
Um,
and I think it's because I mean I can say it, I think we have too many studios or too many people think they have a studio back home.
yeah. A lot of
You
man
know?
they don't really understand it. They don't. It's really understand the
Right.
business. You know.
And
Uh,
and one thing that I've noticed about the trainees is, for example, if you want a mix and a master, you go to KC. You understand?
mhm.
Or there's a few guys that if you go to the credits of a lot of soca songs, you see their names popping up at the mixing and the mastering part. These are almost like the same three, four, five fellas, but back home we have a whole, and I know everybody have to eat. But
Yeah,
I think what I would love to see is to know that, hey, we want to mix, and this is where we go to get a mix, and you get a
yeah.
good,
I think we just
consistent
at
mix.
least with at least someone that has the industry standard at least. We need at least
Yeah,
music to the industry standard because there's more than one. And I think sometimes we don't appreciate what we have. And even with me too, like when I came down Dominica, I was looking for something to mix and master. And at the time, the biggest song in the world was Family. It was mixed and mastered by Dada. So I can check Dada. And
you
then
go by Dada.
Dada think, "Boris, you know what? It's the first man in a long time to come for me for a mix and master. Man doesn't check me. I say, what? But why? And I feel like sometimes we have the pot of gold right in front of us and we're not taking advantage of it.
Because
I
everybody
I
feel they can do it.
I recurring theme there, for me, because you said you went to St. Martin, and I was in St. Me and Hadley was in St. Martin last year, and bro, the love them people have for Boya over there is crazy,
Oh, it's crazy.
and
Man.
and I remember Asa was in St. Martin and come back Dominica, and I remember people like Nasi on them and had to leave
Yeah.
Dominica. So what
And
is it about?
Nasi was in St. Martin too.
Right? So what is it about our people? Because when I think about it, right, the other day I find myself googling Jeff Joe and them guys back in the 70s and 80s and stuff making music. The story
Guana
about
and France.
how them and start the band, all them kind of thing, and the kind of them and end up playing in the Super Bowl, bro. Like that's the type of talent that we keep developing in Nomnica. But what is it about our people that we do not like to embrace our people until somebody else embraces them, right? I mean, what are your thoughts on that in terms of people? Yeah.
It's what my thoughts on it is I think it all comes down to the same thing. The business, the platform, and the culture. Because now, for me, I would say I was in Guadeloupe first, and then Saint Martin, and then I was active in Dominica.
Mm.
And I think that for a long time, a lot of artists got acceptance overseas first before they got acceptance in Dominica. But I think that the bands at the time and the people in Dominica, they were not really grooming and pushing young talent because all the guys that came under me, they was in Dominica first. So
Mm.
they had the platform and they had the right people around them and right team to push them.
They
They
could,
could have
they
taken
could.
up, but
Mhm.
it does never had the resources put in place and infrastructure for them to resonate culturally from locally. And that's why people like Jeff Joe and Graham Max, they had to go overseas because even from studio, brother, like when I came down Dominica, I couldn't find a this nobody studio, but there's no studio as up to the industry standard. Like I ended up buying a drum. I ended up buying a drum, a DW drum because I wanted that DW song in Dominican. Nobody had DW drum. And that
Mm,
would really put my music aside. If you remember, the live drums was a big part of my music. I never was in fan of programming drums. I wasn't playing live bass, live drums, live guitar, live everything, because the boy was a live music. There are a lot of times I used to tell Kendall that too. Like some you the studio version of Triple K song, the song nice, but when you hear the live version, it's then you feeling the vibes.
mm,
The boy was a live
Well,
music.
I think what happened was we very early in the bouyon thing, we had a live culture where artists, bands would care more to put out the live than to go and record a studio album and put it out. So by the time you put out an actual studio recording, nobody wants that because of how captivating the live performance records are. And you don't I mean Marshall Montano, these guys perform all over the world. Have you ever heard a full Marshall Montano live on YouTube or anywhere like that? You see clips of the performances, right? But you
Yeah,
don't you
you see clips, but sometimes if you look, there are some concerts where you can get the well for
but
concerts. Yeah,
yeah, and that is something that we that kind of mess us up, and I happy that you doing that because bouyon music, as you said, is a live genre. Yes, the studio recording deadly and whatnot, but when you have live drums, can you imagine? You know what I always hate as a drummer, listening to a song and hearing a roll going on and the beat still happening underneath the roll.
yeah, you're not realistic.
It's not real. Yeah.
Yeah,
So yeah.
I mean, one thing that I never forget, and I don't know if you guys were there. They might have been there. I don't know if we were there. When Digicel was coming to Dominica, I think that was 2000, was that 2006, I think it was. Something like
When I
that.
was the launch of Digital
The
Botanical
launch of
Gardens.
Digicel, right. And I remember in that show you had Morgan Heritage, Michael Anderson, WCK, I believe.
WCK.
And I can't remember who the fourth band was. But I never forget. That was the
Rupee,
first time.
Rupee,
Yeah,
Rupee,
Rupee.
Rupee.
But I
Yeah.
never forget the first time I heard Morgan Heritage play, bro. And I'm a huge reggae fan. Everybody know that. And when I heard him man sing, I saw him just like the CD. I was shocked.
yeah,
I was shocked because I never hear that like you saying like with Bouyon, like you hear many studio songs and thing, but like when you hear it live, it just doesn't sound the same. And that was the first time I heard that. So I really pick up with what you're saying there, man, in terms of you know, trying to record the music as realistic as possible, try to make the production proper, you know. But one other observation I've had, and again, I'm speaking from somebody that hasn't been involved in music, right? I'm just a patron of music. I love music, but you mentioned something earlier about people working with other people, like writers, producers, and that's one thing I've noticed, right? Because it seems to me that some of the bands only work with certain people, right? Some of the bands only work with certain producers, only work with certain musicians, only work with certain artists. And when I look at some of the other industries, I mean, so other genres of music, even soca, R&B, all these, you keep hearing who are the big producers: Timbaland, Dr. Dre, Mustard, all those guys, and all the artists go into those guys. All the artists go into those guys to get the song right. So why is it that, I mean, in your opinion, why are we so why are we afraid to venture out of our comfort zone in terms of musicians in Dominica? Because for example, I would love to hear a song with a signal and a Asa, or a regional signal, or a regional triple, what I mean, like, just mix it, and you never know, you might strike gold.
well, I think a lot of this to with ego, ego.
Mm,
True.
Everyone just say like, I do that, I do everything, but and that is just the downfall of a lot of artists and musicians and studio man too as well. Because if you keep on doing everything with the same person, after you can start the song monotonous,
Yeah,
and
same
you
way
go
every time.
I like to hear a fresh song sometimes. I'll go to the unknown producer, I'll go to a different guy that make a rhythm. And in terms of the collabs, you see what in Dominica to now, especially with all the guys in their own carnival bands. And that's why sometimes they move stuff. Not Triple doing their things, Signal doing their things, like a competition, whatever. But I know the collabs is something that will go a long way. And as you can see, a lot of the new artists, they know a lot of collabs, Sharks and Nice and Rio, they have that song, and then
mm,
Guadati and Nice, and you know, I find the new generation coming with a different aspect, you know, Kennedy and different artists. So I think with a new generation coming up there, it'll be a different vibes.
Yeah. So on kind of on that topic a little bit is something that we don't see that often, which is Dominican bands playing each other's music.
Mm-hmm.
Like you will go to a Kes concert, and because Kes on that rhythm, Kes might sing three out of the five songs on the rhythm. But we
Mm-hmm.
don't see Dominican artists playing each other's music.
Mm-hmm.
And I guess it boils down to ego, and it's not me that make it. So why should I push it and stuff like that? But I think what it does is it opens up the door for the other guys,
Yeah.
and I think that's something that we need to do more often. Play each other music. I
Yeah,
know
but
telling
I
you
think it's
as
starting, it's starting to change because I remember we used to play Situationship, a nice song. When Gripping was what everyone was playing it, everyone was
right.
trying to do, yeah. So I think it's starting to change now because they realize now, like, you have to play what the people know, and as a booyah band, I see nothing wrong in playing what are trending in your culture
Mhm.
because this was I see who did it, and I was so amazed was Kes. Can you remember when Kes all he had was that one hit song Woodless, and Kes played
Yeah.
Yeah,
all Trinidadian hits. It was a good show, you know.
that was
Yeah.
Curl in the Park, right?
Yeah, Girl in the Park, yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
All right. All right. I mean, listen, I think there's a lot to learn there from what you're saying, right? I'm hearing professionalism. I'm hearing, dedication. And that's that, and those are the things I think that we need to, for the people watching the show, don't concentrate too much on the nasty business. Think about the things that you want to pull from people that you think, okay, there's some things you're going to think, okay, I don't like that, but there have to be some good things. And based on what Rich saying, we can see a lot of positive vibes in terms of,
Positive.
right, go doing things the right way, right, being persevering, right, taking advantage of opportunity. Because like you say, when you saw COVID and you see, boy, things dying down, entertainment industry kind of dying down, you say, boy, let me try to push some music out. Let me take the producing thing a little bit more serious. Let me push some music and stuff. And when you see that, then you hold on to it, right? And that and you're reaping the seeds of that. No. Um, I would say in terms of um all the songs you have done, right?
Mm-hmm.
All the songs you have done with, I'm talking about your songs that you've produced, all these things. Give us your top three. It don't have to be in any order.
Yeah,
Just your
top.
top three.
Okay. I would say Cover Up, Bitch Do You Miss Me, and She Want That Ah.
Mm.
Mm.
Okay.
Because
Yeah.
those are three that stream the most and bringing in the most money. That's why I like them.
Right, right. So,
So I
so
saw I
since
saw hold on Andy. I saw a video of you opening for Rick Ross. I think it was in Matnick.
I'm Guadeloupe.
Guadeloupe.
Yeah.
So boy, boy, and the crowd was going crazy. And I said, if I'm Rick Ross maybe in the back saying, boy, I had to bring that man up with me. Add that man to the group.
Yeah, but it was a funny thing because I know brag and nothing. After we play, Rick Ross come on. After people start to go.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
It's not
I think I think
yeah.
I've always
yeah.
said that bouyon music kind of have that effect. That is why bouyon music sometimes is always the
Yeah.
last
So just put the
jam.
post back on to who you coming after.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
a hard man. It's,
What the
it's like it's like
festival is bouyon.
yeah, it's like performing after Dice in a Calypso show. It's tough, eh?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's
So since we're having a little fun time right now, um, Travis World had a tagline that was Ricardo Drew's voice. Um, Little boy tagline. I think that is Scary's voice, right?
mm,
You have a tagline that you introduced to us called Pata. I
yeah.
think that is your voice. So again, you taking the originality and doing it all on your own. What is that? Is there something there in that Pata, or you just ball it out in the studio one time and the record button was on like
Yeah, man. The thing is, patapa is the full word. It
yeah.
means something. It's African word to mean like something great, something big.
Okay.
Yeah. There's a word be yeah. Oh, everything I do have a meaning. And but I
Yeah,
like to
yeah, yeah, yeah.
and stuff like that, and to use certain things that might go over the radar, but when you really start to research and think about it, that it has a deeper meaning behind it.
That's good,
But
man.
you see that? We thinking the man just say pata, well,
But and
but they have a meaning. They have
Yeah,
a
man.
meaning. They have a meaning.
Because apart from the music and whatever you're making, like Bert was a man helped me understand that. I remember in Bert he used to play for WCK keyboard.
what you
But,
mean?
yeah,
But SM.
yeah. But Dominica right now, but part of my band. Yeah.
Okay, okay, okay.
So now you make me understand too that music is like about frequencies too, and using certain tones and how you mix in and the frequency that you export the music at. And certain things you say, and certain words you say, have an effect on the mind and the brain. That's when you hear a song, you don't know what about that song. It does have you. It does have you, the beat
Hmm.
have you. And I really studied the science behind the frequencies of music, and that helped me a lot too in penetrating.
Mm. All right, I have a question for you then now. So I heard a song one time and I checking, but who is that now? What happened to that song now? I checking. Now I see it scare it. I checking, but with all now. How do I know what put it now?
Which scary,
Oh, you know,
which
oh, you
scary you talking about? Which
who's
scary
not
you talking
scared? The Prime
about?
Minister of Dominica. How you end up recording a song with the Prime Minister of Dominica? How did that
Never
come
been done
about?
before.
Yeah, man. What happened is item I was playing I was playing for Amnesia, because Melissa the customer Amnesia, and me and Issa used to play for it. And one of the times he was there, so I tell him, I meet him, I tell him, hey, we have to do a song, he started to laugh. He said, when I already check him. Then I seriously know it to me, yeah. Saying is that for the Creole Festival, that time we were fighting on nasty business. And
Yeah,
then
yeah.
all I had a meeting with the Prime Minister was me, Kenny G, Nice, all them guys. He brought us together, and he told us that he really proud of what we're doing and exporting the bouyon music, and he kind of have all the other countries accepting nasty business, and in Dominica we fighting it. So you can make sure a couple of us on the Creole Fest show. So after we had that meeting, I pull him aside. I tell him, "I ready to do the thing." Tell me, what is that? So, he said, "But we still behind that." He said, "Yeah, we're ready to do it." He said, "Okay, well, talk to his assistant to organize a day to do it." So now I had a partner of mine called Sugar George too. He was very instrumental in making it happen, pushing it. And then he tell me like that day they say I can come up. So when I come up to do the meeting now, everybody wondering like what going on, because they see me come up there, keyboard, this, that, camera, and everybody saying, what the prime minister gonna do? I tell him, don't worry, man, that's all right, So anybody come after I was from parliament, and I tell him what to do, and I tell him like, hey, just relax, just do whatever, I'll make it sound good. Just do your thing. And we started doing the work and pushing some stuff together. Yeah, he just trust me, he trust the process, and we come up with a hit for the Creole Fest season.
But that was a big truck you went ready. That was a trust me, the whole
Yeah.
people wasn't expecting that at all, at
Yeah,
all, at
just
all,
like
at all.
at all. And I really wanted to do the thing because I wanted to say like from Paro to Prime Minister, I can make a hit.
well, well, you did it, bro.
Well, you did.
Yeah, man, yeah, man, yeah, man. But that was good, man. That was good. I mean, another person that kind of surprised me because many people don't might not know, but I know Suki for years. I mean, I Suki from up, that way,
Yeah,
and
yeah, yeah.
um, I know Suki for years. And when I see Suki on a song, I check in what going on there, But that song become one of the biggest songs I would say in the world because I hear that in clubs in New York, all kind of
Yeah,
thing.
no carnival. You see that song there, I can say I was in my thing, but you see when Suki come with that song, that just really burst open the gate for Buyo. That was the start, that song there. And I had to pick up Jolie on that song too, because when Suki come, like Suki had forget the song. And if you realize Suki dropped the song a kind of off timing unorthodox way, because a normal singer wouldn't sing like that.
Yeah,
Right.
Really gripping. When you work here. So what happened now, Suki was forgetting the song. But Frujola is a man in the streets and Suki, a lot of his chants. So he is telling Suki, she tried to make me break fast. And then Suki said, she tried to make me break fast, but I had my power break fast. So now that combination and that energy, it made the song drop funny, and I think it really worked. It was something different, and the women, they like to work whatever. Uh, and yeah, and I say he stood the best chance. Like if he had just keep the discipline, Suki would have been like the Michael Jackson of Boyo, because I tell you, my brother, All you don't understand, all I know you don't see it. But when I
Mm.
went to the first show with Suki in St. Martin, woman screaming for Suki. All immigration officer running take picture of Suki.
Free
Well, that time
Papa.
it had a big rapper there. What's the rapper name again, the boy? Had a rapper, Bobby Schmurder or something like that in St. Martin.
Bobby Schmurder.
Yeah.
He had a show, and Suki had a show before him. I remember Suki flopped the fucking man. Everybody
Wow,
by
wow,
Suki.
wow.
Yeah. Nobody saw Bobby Schmurder. Bobby Schmurder walking the road. Nobody look ask him for no picture, nothing. Everybody, Suki, Suki. Everybody tying their head for a scarf.
Yeah, yeah.
And
Yeah.
I my hotel room lie down. I see Suki come with free sexy Spanish with Suki. How much woman? I tell you, my brother, you understand the vibe. It's just like a phenomenon, man. But you know, and it
I
wasn't
don't.
about the drugs and but says Suki problem was when you drink alcohol, he was just transformed. But if it wasn't for
Mm,
that, and Suki had a stay steady, boy, you're mad. We would have been a whole
yeah.
different
I must say I experienced the Suki effect in St. Martin, man. I went home for I went to St. Martin for a weekend. My dad lives there. And I went to a birthday party of one of the big DJs down there. And I say, you know what, let me really see what that Suki effect is, man. And I telling you, this DJ punch this Suki song and the place was yeah, like you swear Suki was in there performing live. So he really had an effect, and like you said, like you can do what you could do and bring them to the water, but you can't really hold everybody hand. And I think you did your best, and maybe one day another project with Suki will come, and I'm pretty sure people will embrace it because people like Suki. People rather see Suki there than over there.
yeah, yeah.
You
But I
Mm-hmm.
know?
must say, I still got
Yeah.
so I was still happy for him in a way. Like, even if I mean, me and him still talk off and on. He'll call me, have WhatsApp, but like the music changes life because before that, Suki never had no phone. Suki was on, Suki knew how to use a smartphone, but when he started to make money, he bought a smartphone. He ended up getting a house in closer to Roseau because at the time he really had a place to stay. Suki have a woman now. Suki has been guest house. So like it changes life, and you can see the standard of living better now, and
Right,
happy.
Yep.
right, 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 right.
Yeah, because before that, every other month, Suki was in jail. Boy, I have 2 years now, Suki, out of jail.
Well,
That's
that's
good.
good,
That's
man.
good.
I mean, like again, we're gonna be winding down, to the end of the show, but we do want to just keep highlighting the positive vibes and give you your flowers while you're here. You know what I'm saying? Because I think you have shown that you can go about doing things the right way, you know, and be successful, right? It's not about quick gratification, right? It's doing it right and being and persevering, right? So with that said, we're winding down to the end of the show. Rich, I know you said yeah, I know you have some shows coming up. So just give the people what you have coming up, your touring schedule looking like, and then where can they contact you, where can they follow you, where can they listen to your music, and any project that you have coming up soon.
Okay, well, Friday we're in Canada, Toronto. Saturday we're in Boston. Sunday we're in St. Vincent. So basically every day we're traveling and doing a
Mm.
show. You will listen to music, go on Spotify, look for Ridge, look for More Siwo, look for Dirty Dog Pooders, go on our YouTube page, More Siwo. And if you want, you can just go on crossthebridge.com, you'll find all my information.
All right.
Crossthebridge.com. All
Yeah.
right. Yeah, man. Well, with that said, Rich, we want to thank you for joining the show, man. We really
Yeah,
appreciate it.
man.
With a really good conversation. Hopefully, next time you come down, we can come up Girodel. We'll record a live episode.
Yeah,
We'll,
man.
we'll, you know, we're gonna have some fun. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, man.
You
Hard.
know,
We give
scary
it
it on,
a sample.
scary it on Suki and then to have fun, to have fun too.
Yeah,
So
man.
Big up.
Don't forget to make an anthem for the show.
why not?
Um,
Let's-
Let me tell you something, Rage. Mr. the deadly singer,
No,
Don't
Uh-huh.
play Mr.
let
Don't
Mr.
play
Them
Mr.
thing
No.
there. All right,
Remember
everybody.
that?
Thanks for tuning
I
in.
send you. No, 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 no. I'll send you some of his TikTok videos where you sit down in his car driving to work, singing and things. He's a deadly singer, but he afraid.
I'm
Ah,
afraid, my
sheesh.
brother.
You gotta
He
keep
boy
it.
afraid.
Keep it. Always about the show again.
Talk the
Talk the
thing.
thing.
Well, talk the thing, my brother. Keep it real, my brother.
Mm. What a deadly singer, I tell you.
A little thing, man. A little thing,
But
man. But
Yeah, send me video, man.
look at Shelly. Look at Shelly
you
in
see
the
Shelly
comment laughing.
laughing, Shelly, no. Big up Fridge one time. That is a rich drummer there, drummer Fridge.
Yeah,
Check out
man.
his YouTube channel.
Yes,
Yeah,
sir, brother.
man.
But
Yeah, man.
but
But
yeah, man.
everybody, thanks for tuning in. Again, follow us. Go to our YouTube. we're trying to build our channel, right? We're trying to build our channel, trying to give you guys better content, more content, good topics, good guests. Let's just keep that going. Rich, shout out, safe travels tomorrow.
My brother,
On
big
your
up.
journeys, and thanks for joining us, everybody. Take care. Have a good
Let's
night.
touch on next week's episode real quick.
Yes, yes, yes. Before we go, next week we'll be having a different type of episode. We'll be talking a little bit about renewable energy. Um, and that's a big thing in Dominica, right? We have the geothermal plant that is being built right now, and solar and all these things. But we're gonna talk a little bit about energy, renewable energy, and we know Manico was cutting off power in Dominica and things. So we'll touch a little bit on that with with, with a friend of ours, Dexter Newton. So look out for that flyer. That will be out, and we'll be on with you guys again next week, Wednesday, same time, same place. Everybody, have a good night. Stay strong, stay
All right.
safe.
All right. Good night.
Good night.